Hi everyone! So today Crystal and I are here to do our Read-Eh-Thon Wrap Up. So we participated in this Canadian Read-A-Thon from the 1st of July to the 8th of July. I'm going to kind of go through all the challenges and see what we completed for the week. I don't know about you, but I had a pretty good week in the end of things, so I'm excited to get into it.
Cori has a lot to share with us, so
you did good too, but
yes,
let's get into it. Alright, so to start off, shall we just discuss how many books we actually finished for the week?
I read a whopping 3 books.
I think 3 books like for 1 week is pretty good.
I think I was being a bit ambitious, but I was excited because I read a whole book in the first day, and then I just...
Yeah, I had like, I think I finished the 6 books in 3 days, and then like... so I finished 9 in total, but to be fair, one of them was a graphic novel. 2 of them were just over 100 pages long. So, you know, and I listened to a bunch of audiobooks.
Oh, that was handy.
Yeah.
I actually looked for a couple of audiobooks because I had a bunch of stuff to do, but I couldn't find them, and I was like, okay, well. Yeah.
So I read a lot, but I also, there's a reason for it. I kind of used easy books, so that's why. Alright, but let's go through the challenges, shall we? Alright, so the first challenge of the read-a-thon was to read a book with red on the cover.
I definitely completed that challenge. I read Ablutions by Patrick DeWitt. It was strange, but well, he's just strange, but I love it. But it was really good. It was hard to put down because they're like little vignette chapters of certain characters and certain things, but we're basically following a lowly Hollywood bartender and meeting all his regular customers and his interactions with them, what their lives are like. But the most interesting part was that it's all written in second person. So it's like each time you kneel to open the floor safe, you think of a rigged heist whereby a friend would rob you and wall up your eyeball and wound you. And then it's like, discuss this person, and it's very much you. And I feel that the best way to describe this book in its grittiness would be, it would be an HBO show. Mm. Like, it's that kind of like dark humor and a bit violent and just strange, but definitely an adult book.
Sounds interesting though.
It's good, you should read it. I definitely recommend it. It is very strange, but also captivating because you're kind of following him on this journey where he basically starts off deep in alcoholism and pill popping and just dealing with these really strange people, but then his wife leaves him, but then he wants to change in a really twisted way. Like, he just doesn't want to turn over a new leaf and just do it. He does it in a really strange way, but he's a very interesting character, and I definitely recommend it.
Sounds like a Patrick DeWitt book.
Yes, it does.
So I had 2 books that would complete this challenge. The first one being Fatty Legs by Margaret Pokiak-Fenton. Margaret's actual given name was Uliman, and this is her story of being taken when she was a little girl and put into a residential school, and kind of what that does to a person's personality and like upbringing and culture. Obviously, this is a children's book, but it's definitely heavy subject matter. It's quite sad. I didn't absolutely love it. I feel like I feel like there might be better ones out there. I do still recommend this. I gave it 3 stars, but yeah, it was good, but not great. Obviously this is her story, so it's hard to like judge that. But yeah, anyways, so I enjoyed reading the story. It was definitely an eye-opener and quite sad, but it also has red on the cover. And then the next one was a very strange graphic novel called Super Mutant Magic Academy by Gillian Tamaki. I assumed it was gonna be strange because it's about a super mutant magic academy, but it's like very strange. There isn't like a central narrative in here. It's like kind of like little like vignettes or like slices of life on every other page. It's quite dark and like sexual and gritty, and like I assumed it was, in my brain, this is middle grade. I think probably because I read one of her books this one summer, I believe, and I think that one leads towards middle grade more than young adult.
Oh, okay.
And this is definitely much darker than that. So again, I enjoyed it, but when I was reading it, I was like, is happening? And I think it's another one that I gave 3 stars. And I would yeah, read it, but be prepared for some weirdness.
I think we both read similar red books.
Yeah.
Just unusual with a twist that was like, oh, so that happened.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, it was interesting. So the next challenge was to read a book by a Canadian woman.
Oh, I did. I read 2, but my initial choice for this was Still Life by Louise Penny, in my effort to read more detective fiction. And I wasn't a huge fan.
Oh.
I wanted to, and maybe it's just because it's been a long time since I've been introduced to a new detective,
Right.
but I feel like for book 1, I didn't really meet the detective all that much. I met this entire village full of people involved and who were friends and family of the victim, but I felt like I could have learned more about, what's his name? Chief Inspector Gamache. And, but it picked up in the end. I got into the zone where I'm like, ooh, I think I know who did it.
Right.
I think I know why, and then I'm clearly wrong. But that's half the fun. But
is this a long series?
I think she's written like maybe 8 to 10 books, maybe.
Okay.
There's quite a list of them. I did post about it on Instagram while I was reading, and a lot of people said a few books later it really gets better, and it's one of, a few people said it was like one of their favorite series and stuff.
Interesting.
So based on the bits that I did like, I think I'm going to give the next 1 or 2 of them a try, but yeah.
So I also be in that good series to like find an audiobook from the library or something.
Yes, and I did try, this is one of the ones I tried to find on audiobook, so I could like get stuff done this week, but yeah, I'm definitely going to try more, but this one wasn't fantastic right out of the gates. It took a while for me to
That's fair.
care.
That's fair. So I could pick all but one of the books I read for this challenge, but let's pick The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. So there were a couple books on in my TBR that I didn't manage to get to this week. This one wasn't on my TBR, but I was kind of like at home after a couple days of the readathon, and I'm like, I feel like I need more books to listen to, because I always have an audiobook on the go. And this one happened to have an audiobook, and I happened to have it on my shelf, and it happens to be a Canadian author, so I was like, oh, perfect. And this book has probably been on my shelf for 2 years, because I liked Room by Emma Donoghue quite a lot. This is very different. This is a historical fiction novel set in Ireland about a nurse who is hired to watch this little girl who mysteriously stopped eating 4 months ago, but is somehow still like alive and healthy, and her like trying to figure out if this little girl is lying or like what's happening. Again, it's kind of boring. I wanted to love it, and I didn't. I was entertaining enough that like there was one night where I was sitting at home and I had the audiobook going while I was like doing some cleaning and stuff, and I just like kept listening to the point where I was like, I did not think I was gonna get that far in the book today. But overall, it's no Room. And I think it was another 3-star read. I feel badly giving these because 3 stars is not a bad rating. No, it means good. I enjoyed the book. I just didn't think it was like amazing. But this whole readathon is about promoting people to read Canadian books. Yeah. I feel bad about being like, I didn't love it. But a lot of people do love that.
Yeah,
book,
and what some people like, others don't, exactly. And vice versa. So
it's all good.
If you think something sounds cool, give it a shot.
Give it a shot. I just don't want to lie to you guys and be like 5 stars. Alright, so the next challenge was read a book with an E and an H in the title.
Okay, so I thought I failed at this, and I kind of did, but this book, Bay Girl, is written by Heather Smith, and just in her first name alone, there's E's and H's, but they're just the other way around. So I'm calling this a win.
We can count it.
Yeah.
We can count it.
This book was incredible. I don't usually star rate things because I never think about it, but I would give this 5 stars. I was blown away. I would not have read this book without this readathon and looking up lists of Canadian books. It's a YA contemporary set in Newfoundland. I don't know which way I say it when I'm supposed to. And she's in a small fishing village, and it's during the 90s when cod fishing was put on hold, so a lot of fishermen lost their jobs, and her dad, who was already kind of a heavy drinker, just falls further into that hole. They end up moving in with their uncle in St. John's, which to her is a huge city, coming from a small village, but you know, it's probably not
to me it would be a big city, but
and her uncle is suffering from depression. She has trouble meeting friends at school, but she meets this guy in the neighborhood and they kind of hit it off. And it's just powerful. Like, this is the book that I read in one afternoon. I just sat on the couch and was like, people kept asking, and it was Canada Day too, and they're like, oh, do you want to go out? Should we go out? I'm fine. You guys do what you want to do. I'm just gonna continue to read this book.
It's so cool to find a hidden gem. Like, I want to read that now. I've never heard of it either.
Like, I took it out from the library, and I might actually go find it and buy it, because I would read this again, even though it like hit hard. I cried a lot. I laughed a little.
It's really great though.
Yeah. Definitely recommend this book. It was awesome.
So on my TBR for this, I picked Slight by Jennifer Summersby, and I didn't actually end up picking that one up because it was Karina's and I left it here by accident. But the follow-up to Fatty Legs is A Stranger at Home, and although they're not in A order, there's an E and an H in there. So this works. Similar to Fatty Legs, same idea. This is about Margaret coming back from the residential school and trying to fit in again with her community and having a really hard time because she doesn't speak their language anymore and her mother doesn't even recognize her. And it's again a hard-hitting. I think this one was a little bit more well done, I think, in my opinion. So I'd probably give this a 3 or my woodmark goes in there. 3 or a 3.5 star again, but definitely very interesting, very sad. Yeah, definitely, if you're looking for some children's books, they're easy to get through, and they have some really cool illustrations and stuff in them.
And they're informative.
They are informative, because this is definitely her story. Alright, so the next challenge was to read a book by an Indigenous author.
I did not get to this. My goal this week was to read The Marrow Thieves, but I just ran out of time. I had just a bit too much going on, and but I'm still going to keep this. I borrowed this from Karina for the Read-A-Thon, but I think I'm going to hold on to it because it does sound really interesting, and I've heard nothing but
You'll fly through it too.
So yeah, and that's what I was hoping to do, but I kind of
got stuck.
Got a little bogged down in this beast.
It happens.
So yeah, but I'm definitely going to still read it.
Alright, so I obviously did get to this with Fatty Legs and A Stranger at Home, but I also read Fire Song by Adam Garnett Jones. What I didn't realize before, I don't know if I talked about it in TV already, I might have, but before Girly getting interested in this book, this is actually the novelization of an award-winning movie, which was also written by Adam Garnett Jones. So I feel like that has a lot to do with, I enjoyed this book, but again, the writing wasn't great.
Right. Like,
he's clearly like a screenwriter, right? But this is a book about a gay Indigenous teen living in Northern Ontario, I believe, on a reservation. And at the very beginning of this book, his little sister has committed suicide, and it starts at her funeral. So it's like heavy, there's a very, very heavy subject matter. It's, you know, there's a lot of homophobia and, you know, suicide and drug use, and it's very, like, part of me is like, I want to see the movie, but part of me is like, I don't want to see the movie because it's like multiple situations of suicide. It's very heavy. So if you're going to read this, like, be warned. It's, you know, if that kind of thing bothers you, there's a lot of very heavy subject matter in here. And it's a really important story. And Adam Garnett Jones is gay, so it is in Own Voices as well. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars because the writing was a bit of a slog to get through, but it's definitely an important story. And if you pick it up, just be warned, it's pretty tough sometimes. So
yeah, but you were talking about it when we were sitting around the other afternoon, and I was like, oh, I would just be so sad all the time. It seems heavy.
Yeah, it is. And I looked up a trailer for the movie because I was curious, and I mean, obviously the book was written after the movie, so they're quite faithful, but even just the trailer, I was like, it's like, this looks tough, but Also important. Alright, so the last challenge for the readathon was to read a book set in a province you've never been to before.
For me again, Bay Girl.
Newfoundland.
Covers all the bases for this.
That is the only province I've never been to.
Yeah, I haven't done the territories, but I've done most of Canada, but yeah, Newfoundland's not one that I've been to. But it makes me want to go chill out in one, preferably in the summer. The winter sounded a bit grim.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds beautiful just to live by the salty seawater.
I love the
whale
East Coast.
watchers. Yeah, the East Coast is beautiful. Everyone on the East Coast of Canada is the friendliest people I've ever met in my life. And yeah, and it was fun to read a contemporary YA book to like paint the picture of living in one of those small towns.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Interesting. Like high school parties happened, and I'm like, how many people were at this party? There's only like 300 people in your village.
That's where I grew up. Not there, but similar.
Small town.
Really small town. 500 people in my town. So for this one, I kind of doubled up as well. The Stranger at Home and Fatty Legs were both set in Northwest Territories. So that's that. I have not been to the Territories. Newfoundland and the Territories are the only provinces stuff I haven't been to. So, so that was all the challenges. I still have a few books that that I think I switched around my TBR quite a bit, but it's fine. But I also dived into Anne of Green Gables for the first time since I was a child, and I got this on audiobook, and it was so charming. I loved it. 5 stars. It was funny though because I was listening to this while I was reading this, and I was like going back and forth. It was like, whoof, like my brain's like, what is happening?
Your emotions were probably on a roller coaster.
It was a lot of, my brain's like, I don't understand. Are we happy? Are we sad? This is just like, Anne is so charming. And if you've seen our vlog, which is it's coming up today if it hasn't been posted already as well. I kind of go into like, I grew up with the story. I think most Canadians did. And I talk about the CBC miniseries. And like that miniseries like was my life when I was a kid. And I like, as far as like quality goes, it's up there with like the BBC Pride and Prejudice. Like it's good.
It's yeah, a product of its time. Like it might be a bit dated now, but it's such a classic story that it doesn't matter. You just
like it was
love it.
84 or 86 it came out. Like it's definitely in the 80s, but it's like so good. But so I loved this, and then I also immediately I was like, well, I need to read the second book. So I picked up Anne of Avonlea, and again loved it. And I also listened to Anne of the Island, which is the third book. I was like, I need all of the Anne.
You picked your Canadian quota for the year.
Yeah. I'm currently listening to Anne of Winnie Poplars, which is the 4th book. Apparently there are 9 of them. I did not realize there were 9 Anne books, but I thought there were 4 or 5, but no, there's 9, but that's fine. So loving that journey. And then I also listened to The Last Namsara by Kristen Ciccarelli. And this was like very different from all of the other books I read. This was a YA fantasy book about dragons.
Nice.
Which was awesome. And again, this was my first audiobook. What I thought was my only audiobook, and oops. I think I listened to 5 audiobooks this week.
They're so addicting though, because as soon as you finish one and you have the library app open, you're like, that sounds good. That sounds good.
And like, again, if you see the vlog, I spent a lot of, I didn't feel very well last week, so I spent a lot of time just like walking around my neighborhood for like hours, and I would just be like listening to an audiobook. So that's why that happened. But yeah, success.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yep, ticked all those boxes, kind of. I got one more book to read, but
no, it'll
happen.
I think, okay, to be honest, 3 books in a week is pretty dang good.
It is pretty good. I've been thinking about this at first when I was seeing Cori just burn through these books, and I'm like, I've read one in like a quarter in the first like 4 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, for me, reading 3 books in a week, 5 was maybe pushing it. I could do 5 if they're like fluffy contemporaries.
Well,
but...
and the first of the month is renewal day for us, which means all of our subscribers renew. So we're in that. It was a holiday for me. Crystal was working all day.
So I think usually the first, second, and third of the month are busy days for me. But thankfully, it was a good month. So I had like a bunch of half days, so I was able to squeeze in some reading and stuff, which was good. But yeah, I made up for it in the last couple days reading Evolutions, which again I couldn't put down because I'm like, what's with this guy's life? Like, I don't stop. The second person was like, I'm not this person. But it was, yeah, the first second person narrative book I've ever read.
You don't see it very often.
And it was interesting. I kind of liked it as much as I felt it was yelling at me.
So do you think, is Bay Girl your favorite, or is Evolutions your favorite?
Bay Girl definitely takes the trophy for my favorite book this week.
It's gotta be Anne. It's gotta be Anne. The ugliest edition ever. But I love her.
I'd love to reread it. I think you've inspired me to maybe listen. You made the audiobook sound good.
Because it's public domain, and like you can find it. There's a lot of free audiobooks of this. So even if you don't have access to a library app, it's on Librivox, which is a free audiobook service for like public domain books. So there's tons of different versions of this because it's a classic. So if you're looking for an audiobook, that one is definitely free. All right, so I guess let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
We had a really great week. Had so much fun participating in this readathon. Definitely excited. Definitely want to do it again next year.
Yeah, I love that it really did encourage to be patriotic in our reading.
Yeah.
And I definitely read things that I wouldn't have picked up before.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks so much for watching. I hope if you participated in the readathon, let us know down below if you read any Canadian books. We're always on the hunt for some more. If you liked this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Happy reading and thanks for being awesome. Bye.